welcome to this latest episode. I'm looking forward to sharing this with you. I really enjoyed this conversation that I had with Brittany, or Britt, from Honest Farms. And this is a conversation that took place early June of this year, 2024. And we sat on the property at Honest Farms and we connected and we discussed all the good things that you're about to discover. And I can tell a little bit of a story of like how I got to know Brittany. Her husband Sina is really kind of who I slightly knew, not really, that got me connected with the space itself, and then landed me there doing karmic exchange, karmic work. I stayed there in exchange for I did weeding and I did some labor related things. Got bit by a tick. It was great. Sina helped me remove it. It was wonderful. And so yeah, the reason that I knew who Sina was is that I had some good friends of mine that used to go to Dharma Temple that Sina co-founded with a few other yoga practitioners in Vancouver. And through Instagram, I just like got connected in that space. And it turns out that Sina knows one of my teachers, Steve Fazari, quite well, and that they are Dharma yogis together. And through that connection, that I've been attending some of Sina's offerings. And I've stayed at the farm a few times, and that's really how I knew Sina. And then I got to know Brittany, or Britt, just through that. I'd like to share a little bit about Britt, about Sina. Brittany, who I talked to in this episode, she is a mother of two wonderful children, and she's a DJ. She's a yin yoga teacher. She's also a nutritionist, and she's been hosting and starting to host this offering called Celestial Rhythms, which I'm looking forward to attending the next time that happens. And so we talk a little bit about her work there. We talk a lot about the coming together of the space, of the farm, of moving to Salt Spring from Vancouver and what that looks like, and new discoveries, new challenges, new areas of growth, new spots of fantasticness. But we talk about that a little bit. And then Sina, I don't talk to him in this episode, but I think we will be recording an episode one of these days, because we talked quite a bit during my weekend there, and so much came up. We like both discovered and knew that we were like children of immigrants, of Middle Eastern immigrants, and we talked about just like yoga and like what our parents' expectations are, like everything, just life. And what comes from the yogic world, yogic practice, and how it all melds into everyday life. So that was beautiful in and of itself as well. And he's a yoga teacher, life of a yogi. And I even heard him while I was on the farm. I heard him just chanting, like playing the harmonium before dinner, and here and there, like I would just be kind of like, oh, like sitting around or like walking by, and he would just be kind of like chanting. And I was like, oh, I'm in the right place with the right people, and this is exactly where I need to be. And I just felt stoked to be there, and yeah, just like connecting with people to just like get it, you know? And so, yeah, yogic path, Dharma temple. And that's a little bit about Sina, but I'll save more about him for if he gets his own episode, which stay tuned. I want to share as well here, before we get into the actual episode, I have my third and final sponsor of the podcast. So excited. And this company I found from my juice lady, who some of you will know of my juice lady. She makes me juice. And she was telling me all about this company that's from BC, and that she's been taking their supplements, and it's changed her life. And I was like, all right, I trust you because she's my juice lady, you know? And so this company is called Aversio. Aversio, as a word in and of itself, translates to change. And this company sells fruiting body mushroom supplements And so anything from like lion's mane, turkey tail, reishi, you name it, you know it already. We're all familiar. But the difference here is that this is, yes, the fruiting body, not the mycelium, and that these mushrooms are grown on wood, which gives the mushrooms their food source that allows them to have the benefits that are best. And so this is not something that you see in all supplement companies that are working with mushrooms, and that is fantastic. So I'm really happy to have my third and final sponsor, and I'm happy to be working with something that creates change. I've been taking reishi since June. It's been great, and I'm looking forward to like dabbling in the other ones, of course. So that's Aversio. Our code for that is Tulā15. So if you want to use it, please feel free. Would recommend. Would absolutely would recommend. And yeah, I feel happy to connect with a company that suits our space here and is a genuine good finding. And so there we go. That completes our sponsor. So thank you so much to all of them, and thank you so much to Aversio for taking us on. Yeah, I think that's it. That's all. And here's the episode. I hope that you enjoy it. Okay, hi everybody. We're here with Brittany from Honest Farms. We're on Salt Spring Island. It's very toasty today. It's been magnificent so far this weekend. And we're going to talk a little bit about this space, about the farm, about the philosophies, probably some things about yoga, and whatever else comes up. So Brittany, if you want to introduce yourself, you're welcome to.
Hi everybody. My name is Britt, or Brittany from Honest Farms. And yeah, I'm really excited to be on the podcast today and hanging out with Whitney. It's been really awesome spending some time with her. She's been here on the land helping us tend the gardens and just get some things in order for some upcoming retreats. So that's been really awesome. So I'm stoked to be here.
Yes, so happy to have you. So when I wanted to do this episode with you all, I wanted to talk about just, I guess, even just starting from the story of like how did you get here, and what was even the thought when you were maybe even still in the city that you're like, we need to do this. Totally. You know, how did it all come to be?
Yeah. Well, it all started when I was pregnant with our daughter Berlin, and we were living in West Van. And while I was pregnant with her, I was just getting these urges to start looking for houses not on Vancouver. And Salt Spring kind of came up because I had actually done a show, a DJ show at the Mattiata on Salt Spring while I was pregnant with Berlin, and Sina was with me. And we had such a great trip that weekend, and we'd only been to Salt Spring like that time and like a handful of other times. And so that was kind of the little seed planted of like, this is a place where I could live. And so back to living in West Van when I was pregnant, I was just getting these like strong urges that we needed to like move to the island. And so we just started looking at properties just for fun. And really it was just like a little dream in the back of my head. And we were just kind of looking at properties. We weren't even sure if we had the money or anything like that, right? And then it really kind of manifested very quickly from there. So like, after Berlin was born, like I think she was only 10 days old, we actually came to Salt Spring and we're looking at houses. And so, yeah, it came together quite quickly. And I feel like babies bring their own blessings. I think that when you have children, there is like, I don't know, this strong energy of just like blessings. Yeah, like backing you up a little bit, because I felt like there was a higher power really helping us to get here.
Yeah, and lots of the mothers I talk to, they talk about how their kids are like their greatest teachers, greatest lessons, like, and so much comes, yes, from the gift of like having, it's a big shift in your life all of a sudden to have kids, and now what, and like, how do I want to do that? So was the shift to come here, or the thought, what was it fueled by? Was it like a slower life? Was it just wanting to get away from busyness? Like, what was the thing that was really the calling?
Yeah, I would say definitely a slower life. Like I grew up in Muskoka, Ontario, which is very cottage country. It's pretty chill and quiet there, and I just knew that I wanted to raise my daughter in a more kind of carefree environment where I wasn't having to worry too much about like busy roads and traffic and actually a lot of the schools here on Salt Spring were really calling me. They have a lot of different alternative schools here, so that was really cool. And yeah, it definitely wasn't easy like getting our mortgage and like actually getting the property, and there were a couple times where we almost didn't get this property, like where we got phone calls from the bank being like, sorry, we just can't make it happen. And I remember just like crying and being like, okay, this is it, like we're not gonna get the place and it's okay. And I still had this like inkling of faith. Like I still was like, maybe it's possible. You know, we only need $40,000 more, Sina. It's okay. We can come up with it.
It's not much, yeah.
We'll find our way.
Of course, yeah.
So we really just like pooled together, you know, everything we had to like make it possible. And then finally, in the end, we got the approval. And I just remember I was sitting with my mom for tea in like Arbutus Cafe somewhere in Vancouver, and I just started crying. She's like, was that the call? And like, it just was like, yeah, because we were in limbo for so long. Like I remember like we had our house kind of like half packed in West Van, being like, are we moving? Are we gonna get this? So
that's a lot. Like that's a lot in the mind, in the body, where everything's kind of everything's all over the place.
Totally.
And you don't really know if you're coming or going. You don't know what the next step is, and you've got this family now too. It's like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna be doing here?
Yeah.
You know. And for me, that like shows that you were able to get this, like get some sort of money. You got the place. It shows me that like everything is possible. You can do anything. Like things are always kind of like gonna work out, and it's hard too, because I find like in the philosophies of yoga, they always tell us to like not hold on to stuff and like aparigraha and like don't be too attached to the idea. And like for you, you felt emotional. You're like, no, I want this thing or whatever, you know. And there's like so much of us that's like trying to be unattached from our possessions and like what we think we want or what we do feel that we want, whatever. And there's like comes a time where it's like, but also you just kind of, you had a hope. It's like you can't argue with that too much. You can't say, oh, let it go, like practice non-attachment to whatever. It's like, but I don't know, I really want this. This seems to make sense to me. Yeah.
I completely agree with you on
of
that.
course. And then so then you shifted here, but you had you guys had the studio, like I don't know, did you two start that together? Was that something Sina already had when you met him?
Yeah, so Sina had Dharma Temple with Reno and SJ. Okay. So that was their baby together that they had for, gosh, I can't remember how many years, but it was such a beautiful space, and I know you got to go to that space.
I never went there. No, I never went there. No, I never went there, which is crazy to think.
I could see you there. I feel like you would like it.
I was already there though. Yeah. In spirit.
Energetically, you were there. I feel like
I had a good amount of friends that would go there, but I had never been.
Okay. Yeah. So that was their baby, and I guess they had had it for many years, and it was really thriving, and such a beautiful space. And then COVID came along. And a lot of yoga studios had to close their doors. And so, you know, it was a really hard decision for them, but they ended up having to close their doors. And then it was like, you know, all happening in very similar timing where we were getting the place. So we kind of just shifted gears here. And then we always had the vision in getting this property that we wanted it to be a retreat center. So even before we, you know, got our mortgage and everything like that, Sina had written out like a whole business plan, because he's very good at that. And
we were talking about that this morning. Yeah. We were talking about just like business and like making a business plan and like knowing the law, like knowing how to make things work, knowing how to, you know, all these different things that we like maybe forget or don't think about. But it's good that he had a vision, I guess, you know what I mean? Like he was ready to put it down on paper. Yeah.
And I'm such a huge believer about like writing things down and then watching them come to life. There is something about writing it down. And I remember like when Berlin was, you know, very young, and we were in our West Van apartment, and he was just like writing out the whole retreat system and like how it was going to work and like what he wanted it to look like. And yeah, sometimes I forget that we had done that, and then like here we are now, and you know, in the early years of the retreat business taking off. But it's really special just to remember back to those moments of like how we got here and all of that. So
yeah, it's easy to lose sight of that because you're just where you are now. Yeah. And this is just it. Now it's all like, you know, worked out the way you thought it would, or you know, just the plan is in place. But even in the trailer, like I'm staying obviously in the Ananda trailer, and I was thinking about that last night, and I went on her Instagram from like when she was still, you know, she was painting it. Yeah. She has like videos there and photos of it, like, you know, midway done and like all these things. And I was like, you know, we really need to recognize the process and even like where things come from. It's like you look at that trailer and it's incredible. It's so special. It's so cute. Like it's amazing. It's so amazing. Cute. And like she did a beautiful job, you know, and like I think maybe her partner also worked on it with her. I'm not sure. Yeah. But you know, and like we call these places so special. Yeah. But like it's really nice to like look back and like, oh, okay, this is how that came to be. Totally. And it's the same thing with all this space. Like everything is, you know, slowly but surely everything gets established. Like even the dome going up, like you have to remember that day. Like what was that like? What was that like that day, you know?
Totally. It was a big job getting that dome up, but it was so amazing watching it come to life and all the hands that went into bringing it up and the energy.
Yeah, and so when you bought the property, was it like that, like where you live in the house, this cabin here, and then basically I'd imagine nothing really else, like just these two structures for the most part? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we had, when we moved here, we actually lived in the cabin for a short period of time, and then we eventually moved into the main house. So there's the cabin, the main house, and then the little Ananda trailer. And then everything else on the property was just, you know, loads of trees and brush. And I was really skeptical about wanting to take down any trees because, you know, and Sina as well, but because we love wildlife and we just want to keep the trees up. Yeah. But we had to take some standing dead trees down and some other trees just to make way for what we wanted to create. So I feel really grateful for how it's turned out. And now we've got the dome. We also have the Lion's Den trailer, which is another accommodation for retreats or also used for long-term rental. And then we do have longer term visions of getting another cabin, and just more accommodations for the retreats would be nice. And then we also have some pretty awesome camping spots that are pretty pretty lush.
Trail there, yes. Yeah, they are lush actually. They are very lush. And so then, you know, your vision and your hope is this is a retreat center and a space where people come to find, you know, practice and solace and all of these wonderful things. And what do you feel, I guess, what are the, I don't know, maybe some of the philosophies of this space now, and like what are some of the, I guess, visions, like what is it all going to become? What do you picture?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. I feel that our deepest intention with it is to be a safe space where people can come and feel like they are at home. Like a lot of times when people come do the retreats here, and even just the camping portion, not even stay in the accommodations, we kind of keep getting the same feedback. Then people are saying like it just feels like home here, and like the stars at night are beautiful, and it's got this very grounding energy. So I believe that my intention would be that people come here and they leave feeling like better than when they came, just like more grounded and at ease. So I really just want it to be a healing place for people, a healing place for sure. And I just visualize us doing a ton more of retreats and trainings and like having it be all year round, because I know, especially in Vancouver and on Salt Spring, when winter hits, it can get pretty gloomy and rainy and cold. And so right now we're in the process of making the dome, you know, very winterized, so that when the winter comes, we can actually gather around the wood stove and like have lots of kirtan and lots of offerings. And so, we just want to make it like an all year round thing that is really just kind of thriving, and it then begins to just kind of thrive on its own. So right now we're still putting so much work in every day, and it's a lot.
Of course, it is a lot.
It's a lot. It will continue to be a lot, I think, for the rest of our days, but I do hope that one day we'll get to a point where everything is functioning a little bit more graceful. And so
for sure.
Yeah, that's my vision.
And so like this space, you know, you've got this dome, and like I would imagine as it is, it's just like everything is very little by little. Everything is just you know, just here and there. Like I see that there's so much progress in stuff. Like stuff has changed even in a short amount of time, but there's like midway projects and things that have to get done, and then you're managing also being a parent.
Yes.
And like how does
it's a lot. It's like, you know, the one thing I could say now, and to anyone listening to this podcast, is that we love having people to come up and help us, and that is the one thing that we need more of. And so having you here this weekend, even just to help us, you know, get our second greenhouse up, is like so exponentially incredible. So thank you for that. And yeah, I think we need more hands, and everything moves a little bit slower with our kids. Our kids are 2.5 and 5, and Sina and I are also both working other jobs as well, so we're very busy. And you know, we definitely appreciate any extra farm help that comes.
So if anybody wants to come by,
we can host you and
yes, of course,
feed you and all the things.
Right. And for me too, coming here, like I see and I know, and I want to talk about like how the name came to be, of course. Like I want to talk about how this all, like from start to finish, just like how this is all played out basically, you know. But for me, I really notice that there's a strong influence on being environmentally aware and conscious, and really, I would say, like living off of the land. It's like, I feel like everything is done very beautifully, and it's very like yogic, you know, to me, which is nice. It's like true to practice, which I really appreciate, you know. And so does the name Honest Farms, does it come from an area, like how did that word come to be basically? Like does it come from an area also wanting to honor the land and being like true to practice, true to nature? Totally. Or is it something else?
That's a great question. So Honest Farms, the name came, first I'll tell you how the name came, and then I'm going to weave into what you were just touching on. I believe I think it was like a couple days before New Year's Eve. That's what I have from my memory. And Sina and I were just trying to figure out names. And I remember we were in the house and we were talking about different like plant names, and I was naming like different flowers on the land, like you know, like allium, and like we're going through different names. And then suddenly Honest came up, and I can't remember if it was Sina that had actually thought of it or I had mentioned it. Either way, one of us had like said it. Somehow it just kind of came up, and then we were like, oh, that's nice. That feels really good. And it does really suit the land and what we're doing, because the name Honest is just so connected to just like being like truthful and in integrity. And so like our, you know, intention with that is that when people come here, they see what they get, or they get what they see, right?
Yes.
Like they're here, and like we really try to use like a lot of like upcycled stuff, and it's definitely not like a super bougie retreat center. We're, you know, trying our best just to use what we have on the land. You know, building materials are like very expensive these days too. So we really just try to do our best with what we have. And I think that name reflects that in some capacity.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense. But yeah, just living honestly and truthfully to who you are, and letting the land kind of shower that through.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And then and like for me, I was talking to Sina this morning, and he was saying about how like there's this duality basically between like doing everything naturally, and like putting a lot of course like labor into things with like just like kind of natural tools, like not power tools, just like using that. And he was talking about how they put the driveway in, you guys put the driveway in and like went, you know, up and back in there, whatever, and that you needed to bring in like actual machinery to do that. And then also that, you know, that sometimes you do need to use a chainsaw, even though you want to keep it like as natural as possible. And like where that all kind of comes in, and this this balance of almost like, what is the word? It's like modern technology, I guess. Yeah. And like also just being like someone who's like living off the land and not using any of these things. You wouldn't have access to these things, but sometimes you have to utilize that. I mean, you probably still wouldn't have the whole driveway if you didn't have the machines to do it.
We try our best, and then we're also like, sometimes we got to bring out the big guns.
Big guns,
just get the job done.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of the tools we're using are like, they're, you know, pretty old, and we're, you know, we try to upgrade when we can, but we also just try to use what we have, and then we upgrade when necessary. And so
I think you two are doing an excellent job of what it is you're trying to do, or that you are doing, I should say. You know, I don't think that it feels like that it's trying to be anything else that it isn't. And I really appreciate that you're utilizing things like even a little outdoor shower at the trailer. I like that you used a tree to I feel like what happened probably was that was that shower already there?
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
No, it was not.
It was not there. Yeah, see? And so I feel like probably you two maybe saw that little tree that was already there and thought, perfect. This is where we'll put the shower, you know? Because I was looking at it and I was like, I feel like they saw this and they were like, we want to put a shower here. And this wonderful natural standing structure is already here. So we'll put the shower there, you know? And I'll tell you that I love that shower.
Oh. I don't know if you've seen the farm stand.
No, I have. I've driven past, of course, but I didn't stop at it. Okay, I gotta go.
It's also a tree.
Yeah.
Is it
actually? No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So Sina built it like kind of around this beautiful tree. So the tree is actually one of the like main posts of the farm stand, and it's also kind of the gate entrance into the dome. And again, connecting back to that honest farms, it's like really just like of the land, and like, you know, we are trying to embody that,
of course. And
I do feel like that is what kind of sets us apart from your typical retreat center. And I feel like our prices reflect that a little bit as well too. So we want to make it more affordable for people, because it's so expensive these days. Like when
it's just like, it's crazy. Actually, it's crazy what it costs to go.
It's a lot.
It is a lot, you know. And when I was talking to Sina this morning, we, you know, touched on the same thing of just like things being accessible. And like for me with practice and like yoga and like wanting to be in this yoga world and what have you, like it doesn't really mean, and it really shouldn't, you know, like mean capitalizing on so much. I feel like for me, always, no matter what, in any offering or anything that exists for my yoga work, it has to be accessible. And like to me, practice is free to whoever wants it, like whoever's ready to find that, whoever's already doing that, whoever wants to access your teachings. Like it's free knowledge. Actually, it's free. It's not anything that to be held or that's like personal to you. You might come up with your own things, but these are like ancient teachings. They go way before us, you know. And if we view us all as a collective, I don't know any different than you know. We all know the same things. And so it's really nice that you offer that, because you don't see that very much. You don't see it very much anymore. It's like always like a couple $1,000s to go somewhere.
Totally.
Which is
totally
wild.
Thank you for saying that.
Of course.
Yeah, we try to keep it a little bit lower than your typical retreat center, and then we always just let people know that, you know, it's a little bit more rustic than your usual fancy spot, but the land is like, to me, is so much more beautiful than anything that somebody could make, if that makes sense. You know, like you just come here and you're just walking the paths and you're by the gardens or you're near the dome and the fruit trees, and it's like, oh yeah, this is a nice place to be.
Yeah, that's it too. And I feel like it's just whatever nature intended. Like everything is just the way it is. It's just like the way it should be, or how, showing up the way the way that nature kind of intended. And I find that like when you are seeking these things, and I think that you probably get a very beautiful grouping of people, or like just people in general that come here, because sometimes those like more expensive retreats, they're great, they're beautiful, they have their purpose, there's nothing wrong with them. I like them sometimes too, of course, you know, but they're not always connected, I guess. They're not like always as rooted in like being with the lands and with nature and just being being the way nature intended. They're always very like groomed and like landscaped, and they have usually like pulled down a lot of trees to be there. You know, like they've made room for everything. It's like a full land clearing instead of just like, oh, let's work with this, and like these ones are already dead. Let's only pull those ones because we can, and that's okay. You know, and so like just understanding the lands a little bit.
Even
as well.
Sina's first retreat back in 2021.
Yeah.
I think it was like right after we got the okay that COVID had cleared a bit. And that was one of our best retreats, was in 2021, and we had like sold out that retreat and everyone just was itching to get together.
Yeah.
And he called it Dharma Yoga Nature Retreat.
That's so special.
And the nature part really just holds true to everything we're talking about, because it's like a lot of people are camping, because we had many people at that retreat. And then, you know, there's still the option of accommodation, but just being fully immersed with the land and outside and just taking all that in. So it was nice.
Yeah, and I think that the retreat itself and being here maybe feels a little bit more like home for people who are more connected to, because you guys are here. Like there's a whole it's just like you guys as a family that are here, and there's like your kids running around and they're like wanting to talk and play and pick you flowers as they do. Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. And I think that is an aspect too. There isn't really like staff. And it's, like there's not this whole like kind of hierarchy of people and like having to find someone who works here. It's just kind of like this, we own this space. And if you need something, you come to us, and all these things. Yeah.
Oh, thanks for saying that. And you're kind of reminding me just to share too that when we cook for the retreaters, we actually do it out of our home kitchen, which is pretty awesome. And so our house, I mean, you've seen the house, but it's got a wraparound deck. And so we set up this really beautiful like canopy tent just outside of the house. And all the food is put under the tent, but then people like actually sit around the wraparound deck, and we just kind of open up our home space there, and people just come and gather. And then I make all the food. I'm a holistic nutritionist as well, so that's been pretty awesome. And just as you were saying, just like that homey vibe. And eventually, you know, one day I would love to have like a little lodge house where we do have our own,
some like live-in people that can help.
Exactly. And like that's something I could see in the bigger vision of it all, but for now it's just kind of perfect as it is, and we just do it like this. So.
Yeah. You do need the help after a while. You know it. You know, you feel it. You're like, oh my gosh, we need the support. You know, like somebody told me once, they're like, don't like try to do everything by yourself, or you don't have to do everything by yourself, which is a lot of what you feel when you're doing some of your own things, or you're just like, this is mine and I need to figure out how to do it. And it's like, but you can also like, it's really good to recognize like who's got who's like more educated in some area than I am, who's got a better skill in this thing than I do. Okay, I should just bring them in. I don't need to like spend time doing this because I'm already doing this other thing. How can I utilize somebody else's strengths and like kind of work with it? But it's hard. It's hard to like let go of that.
We have a lot of people that will book retreats here, like, and so we aren't a part of them. They're just you know renting the land from us, and then I always kind of let them know that I do offer food and that I'm a nutritionist, but then a lot of times they will just bring their own chef too, and it's nice because I get a bit of a break, and you know we'll just kind of do our own thing. And then for our more like personalized retreats, I will cook food, but it's nice to not have to do everything like you said, and just like source out people. And I think we're better when we do that, because when we do too much, then it shows and things start to kind of fall apart. It's good to have help, and it's good to step back once in a while too.
Of course. Yeah. And so what do you guys have planned for retreats this summer? Like what are the ones that are coming up? I guess there's one like very soon. I'm pretty sure it's the end of the month. Is it the end of this month? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's at the end of this month.
I thought so.
June, I think it's 27th, 28th, 29th.
Right. And
that is a retreat with Rudy, who is a very well-known Salt Spring man. He's amazing. If you are ever on Salt Spring again, you should check out his offerings, but he does primarily breathwork and qigong, and he is just like a sacred sage. Like even just sitting with him is like a real pleasure, a treat. There's something very special about him. And so he reached out to Sina a while back and was like, I have this idea of us collaborating. And so now Rudy and Sina are doing a retreat together, and I'm really stoked for them because I feel like they're just like the yin and yang.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, Sina's offerings mixed with his offerings, and then the land and the food. And so that's going to be at the end of June. So that one's going to be good. That's one of our big ones. And then we have a couple other that we're just, we're renting the land out and people are hosting their own retreats here. There's quite a few of those.
Right.
And then we hope to do another Dharma yoga retreat in the summer. And then I also do Mama's retreat. So I did a Mama retreat last year or 2 years ago.
Okay.
So that could be on the radar. I haven't put dates in for that yet. I've been pretty busy doing music as well because I'm a DJ.
Yes.
But yeah, for sure the retreat coming up with Rudy and Sina, and then hopefully another Dharma retreat. And then that's that for now.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot already.
It is, honestly, it is, you know. It's nice when people rent it out, if they do, end up bringing people to help them. Because I would imagine when people rent it out themselves, they do have their friends or whoever comes, like even like a karma helper.
Totally.
That's like, please, you know, help me with all this stuff. It's more than you think, the retreats. There's a lot more that goes into it. I always think that I want to host one, and I'm like, okay, I can do it, whatever. And then I realize I'm definitely going to need to utilize help.
Yes. Like, I mean, for us, I think the biggest job for us when we are running the retreats here on the land is there's a lot of cleaning, because like you have to make sure all the accommodations are like perfectly set. So there's a lot of like laundry and cleaning and tidying, and then like landscaping, and so it's all that kind of tedious work that goes into it. So we really like take pride in like making sure everything is like nice and clean and like well kept. And so it is nice when people come to rent the land and do their own retreats, because we do just get to kind of step back for a bit, and we'll even just try to, you know, leave the land a little bit and just kind of give them space to do their own thing. And then we're here as kind of like chaperones if they need help with like the toilets or showers or whatever, right? We're just here for questions and support, and then we just try to provide a bit of space. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, that is really nice. It's so special.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything that you would like to, is there any like thing that you really want to share or touch on that we didn't get to? Is there certain things that you, even like special things about this space?
Yeah, I feel like we covered a lot of ground. I loved everything we talked about. One other thing I'll just mention is that we also do music events at the Dome.
Right, and
so
I would imagine that mainly these are yours.
That's right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I just started this music event. It's called Celestial Rhythms. Okay. So we did our first one in March.
I was gonna say, I feel like I've seen that. I've seen that on Instagram for sure. You know. Okay. Please tell us all about it. Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm ready to dance.
Yeah, I love it. It'd be great to have you. Yeah, it's basically just a music event that we throw in the Dome, and then I DJ, and then I usually hire out 3 other DJs to come and collaborate. And then it's all ages, so kids and families are welcome, and it's basically just, you know, creating a safe space for people to dance and move. And I feel like dancing is also extremely healing. So it ties into the healing energy of the land, just to like move your body cathartically. And one thing that Salt Spring loves is to dance. It's a big dance community.
Yeah,
so,
that's true, actually.
Yeah, and I didn't know how we were going to do on the first one, but we like sold out our tickets and then some, because people love to dance here. Yeah. So I was like, I got to do this more.
Yeah, but that's what I really appreciate about the community here. I really, we all know, I feel like there's a certain type of person that's really drawn to want to be here and want to live here, you know? There's like a kind of a varied like type of person, but there's like a certain type of person. And I really appreciate like just observing and watching people who are here, and I love so much people that just don't care what anybody else thinks, what anybody is like. There's no like judgment. It's very like freeing. I think that like, yes, dance is like extremely important, but there's always a hesitancy. There's so much hesitancy with dance with people. And when you move and like move the body in that way, like, yes, you're moving the energy, you're like healing from that, and you're like connecting. I feel like any type of movement is really helpful, but like always utilizing different movements. It's like you could practice yoga all the time, but to dance and like move your spine in like a different way, and to like, you know, kind of exercise yourself a little bit differently, and like connect with the feeling of the music, and like connect with yourself. Like, it's such a 360 healing experience to be with the music, with people, dancing.
You're nailing it.
Right?
You're nailing it.
You know, like this is huge. This is so important. And so like I it's good that you're doing that, and I really value the communities. Honestly, the Gulf Islands, I feel like all the Gulf Islands just have the coolest people that just don't give a shit. Like, they don't care about nothing. They're like, yeah, this is me.
Yeah,
exactly. Take it or leave it, you know, whatever. And that is very valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find after those events, or the one event that we did, but any music event, like the following day, there's just this feeling in your body that you can't really explain. It's just like it's a healing feeling. Like you're like, I danced, I took in the vibration of the music, and I just feel happy and like joyful. And so I want to create more of that.
Yes.
And one other thing I will mention,
of course,
just to share, is that I feel that, you know, being a parent and being here, tending the land and doing all of the hard work here, I feel like it is kind of like our dharma, and just, you know, being of service. And I know that's one thing that rings very true for Sina. He loves to be of service. And I think it's our work on this in this lifetime. And it's not easy, you know. It comes with many challenges, and just, you know, showing up as good parents, being in relationship together, and, you know, getting all of the things done that need to get done here. And so it goes through many ups and downs, but at the end of the day, it's like, this is the deep work, you know. It is the yoga. Right? And so it's just like remembering that we're always taking our yoga off the mat and doing our best to remember those principles in moments that get tough.
Of course, you know, and like for me, the yoga, like it's unfortunate to me that so much of the thinking of yoga is the mat. Yeah. You know, and I said to Sina yesterday when I got here, I was talking to him a little bit about the projects that we had to do and whatever, you know. And I said, he said, I'm not really I don't know what I want for pictures. If you're going to take a picture of me, I don't really know if I want asana. I don't really know. I said, well, we can do some with the harmonium if you want to, you know, like, because that's maybe more what you're doing now. He's like, I don't know what I'm trying to be. I don't know whatever, you know. Yeah. And I said, you know, like, the practice changes as you get older. There's so much, there's a lot of change. Like, I'm definitely not as asana focused as I used to be. I don't really care. I don't really, like, I like doing it, but it's not really where I'm at anymore. There's a different practice. And I said to him, you know, I was like, just me being here with you, this is the yoga. Aww, because I met you guys through yoga, and there's yoga stuff here, and I do the yoga, blah, 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 and this is it. And like, really nice. Doing an exchange, like, that's the yoga, you know. Totally. Like, I was just talking to my friend, and she doesn't practice any yoga, and she said, you know, like, I've never even heard of these work trade thing. I never heard of a trade. Like, I didn't even know these things existed. And I was like, well, it's big in the yoga community, because we're all about just like exchange and karma, and not like currency, and not wanting to to have to make everything about money, and like, for sure, I don't know, it exists a lot for us. You exactly. know? And so the yoga like steps outside of the mat so much.
100%.
Right?
And it's just that reminder too of like, our yoga practice is always changing, and it's not always going to be yoga on the mat, as you said. Yes. And just like remembering to really move with the rhythms of life. And I think sometimes we can really kind of, you know, as a collective, we can hold on to our old identities, and sometimes it's hard to shift from one place to the next, right? And it's like, oh, I used to do this pose, but now I can't do that anymore.
I was just about to say, I have a student, and she can't do certain things anymore. She's just gotten older. Yeah. And she like really gives herself obviously a hard time about, like, I don't blame her, you know, because I probably feel the same. But yes, you want to grasp onto this, like, this being that you used to be. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's okay to grieve the old parts of ourselves. Yes. But then to remember to really just like step into the now. And one other little teaching that's dropping through now is to really like love the people that you're with now. Because a lot of times I think we try to like be somewhere else, or we want to be around different environments or different people, but it's like, love the people that are in front of you. There's a song, it's like, love the one, yeah. I got that teaching actually from Patrick Creelman, who's an amazing teacher, but he was talking about that one day, but I was like, man, that's a good teaching. Love the people you're with now, even if they trigger you.
Okay, right? Yes, you gotta
love everyone. Family, gotta
love them all. Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, but I like that actually. I'm gonna take that with me.
Put it in your back pocket.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, you feel good. You feel like we covered very good, honest farm ground.
I love that. That was really beautiful.
Yeah,
thank you for
so
that.
much.
That was awesome.
I appreciate you, doing the episode with me.
Good at hosting a podcast. I can't even imagine how you did that.